came back into the market in a very big way.
What we know now is Wall Street can bring down Main Street.
People are seeing this, and those memories of fear are coming back.
When you have a 401k or a 403b, those kinds of accounts, they are incredibly susceptible to downturns.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped more than 900 points. More than 900 points.
There are questions about how to best save for retirement.
Part of the problem is confusion.
Time keeps on slipping into the future.
The first rule in investment is don't lose. And the second rule in investment is don't forget the first rule. And that's all the rules there are.
When the market goes up, you go up. When the market goes down, you don't go down. Save Money Radio, your money safe and sound.
Welcome to Safe Money Radio with your host, Brad Pistole. Brad is a retirement and income specialist, primarily serving Springfield, but he's sought after nationally for his expertise in helping people secure their retirements. Mr. Pistole is a licensed life insurance professional in the states of Missouri, Arkansas, and Kansas, and he specializes in working with people who are near retirement and those who have already retired with wealth management, income planning, and asset protection strategies.
Save Money Radio, your money safe and sound.
And now, here to talk with you about securing your retirement, your host, Brad Pistole.
Well, hello, friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be talking about the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. And I can guarantee you this, about 95% of you have never heard of this, and your advisor has never talked to you about it. So I want you to stay with us for the entire show. And if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, you probably know that I've been on the radio for 15 years now. This is the longest running financial planning show in the Ozarks by a mile. No other show even comes close. There hasn't been anyone on local radio on a financial show like this for more than 5 years, and I've been on for 15 years. So if you've been listening to the radio for any amount of time, I'm sure you've noticed that in today's world, there's a different financial show on the radio 4 to 5 times a day. And do you know why that is? It's because of my show, Safe Money Radio. These other programs have all popped up over the last 2 to 5 years, and it's because they've been listening to my radio show for the past 15 years. We started all the way back in 2009, and no one does what we do. If you've listened for very long, you know that we have world-renowned guests on this show. People like Dr. David Blanchett, Dr. Wade Pfau, Dr. Michael Finca, and Dr. Alex Margia. We also have guests like Social Security expert Heather Schreiber, best-selling author and leading economist Tom Hegna, and America's IRA expert and CPA Ed Slott. We are the premier financial planning show that's been educating retirees all across the United States with our radio show and our Safe Money Radio podcast for 15 years. So whether you listen on the radio or you go to YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcast, you can just look up Brad Pistole and Safe Money Radio. We provide premier financial education for all of our listeners. Now, this past week, one of our new clients said, "Brad, how in the world do you come up with all the material that you come up with for the show?" And I thought that's a great question. For 15 years, I have written every single word of every single show that airs on the radio and on our podcast. And I've written every single word in both of my 2 best-selling books, Safe Money Matters and Bulletproof, the Safe and Secure Retirement Income Plan. You see, I don't use artificial intelligence, I don't have ghostwriters, and I don't pay anyone to create content for me. I come up with every single show. And that means I work a lot. It takes a lot of time. It takes a very creative mind to always be creating content for shows that air 5 times a week, 52 weeks a year. We also have our podcast and guest interviews and all these sorts of things. And this is why you will never run into me on a golf course during the week, like you probably do other financial professionals, because I'm going to be in my office with clients, or I'm going to be writing, creating, and recording new content. It is a passion of mine to educate people regarding retirement income planning. So here's what I want to do on today's show, and it's going to be a little bit different than normal. Today, I just want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about something that's very, very important. And instead of having a script in front of me, I just want to share off the cuff. I'm not going to be reading anything. I just want to talk to you. And I want to do this because we just passed a very important date. And that date is April the 15th. April the 15th is probably circled on the calendar for many of you because every single year you know this as T-Day. You've heard of D-Day? Well, this is T-Day. And you know what the T stands for, right? This is the day that you have to pay your taxes. And it's going to happen every single year, no matter what. Whether you want it to or not, whether you're prepared for it or not, it's time to pay your taxes every April the 15th. And we just passed that date, so you can take a huge sigh of relief. You made it, unless you filed an extension. And if you filed an extension, you're still going to have some stress until you get those taxes paid. But now you get to focus on other things. If you made it to April 15th, you've paid your taxes and filed your return, now you can start thinking about spring vacations or graduations or taking the first trip of the summer or whatever it is that you want to have on your mind. Maybe you're going to get your tax refund and then head to the hills or to go to wherever it is you like to go when you have fun. No matter what your plans are, I want to talk to you today about the number one thing that's going to separate you from the retirement of your dreams. You know, I recently had Dr. David Blanchett on the show, and we talked about one of the things that I think is probably the second most important thing that will impact your retirement. It's definitely one of the most important things, and that's something called the sequence of returns risk. Now, if you don't know what this is, then just Google it. Sequence of returns risk. Or go to YouTube and type in Brad Pistole and Safe Money Radio. I've got all kinds of interviews with people like Dr. David Blanchett, Dr. Wade Pfau, and Dr. Michael Finca, and we talk about the sequence of returns risk all the time. I've also talked to Tom Hegna about it several times on the show because it involves the timing of the market and what's going on with all the ups and downs when you're invested in volatile investments like the stock market. And the timing of this is very, very important when you retire and start taking distributions. You see, when you retire, the sequence of returns risk is a major risk. If you retire in a year in which the market starts a downward swing, you will be taking distributions while paying a fee for that account while experiencing losses. And that's something I call the triple whammy. But there's something that's even worse than that, and that's what today's show is about. It's what I call the quadruple whammy. The quadruple whammy is when you take distributions from an account while paying a fee to your advisor to manage that account, while the markets are going backwards and you're losing money in that account, while you're paying taxes on the distributions from that account. And I can tell you this, friends, that's the formula for financial disaster. If you experience distributions, fees, losses, and taxes all at the same time, you don't have to be a math wizard to understand that this is going to wipe you out. You can't have four things working against your retirement income plan all at the same time and survive it. So in other words, if you go through a 2001 or a 2008 or a 2020 or a 2022, and that's your first year of retirement, or maybe your second year of retirement, you'll never be able to get out from behind the eight ball because you started off with losses, distributions, fees, and taxes. And that's a formula for disaster. So today, stay with us. This is going to be an incredible show. I want to share with you what I think is the absolute most important thing that you need to focus on for your retirement income planning. If you want your retirement plan to last for 30 years or longer, which you better be planning for because that's what we're seeing happen more and more today, then stay with us because we're going to be talking about the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. If you want more information, you can always call us anytime at 866-780-SAFE. That's 866-780-7233. Just ask for a free copy of my book, Bulletproof, The Safe and Secure Retirement Income Plan, and we talk about all of this in this best-selling book. Our number's 866-780-7233, and there's always someone standing by to take your call. Friends, thank you so much for being with us today. On today's show, we're talking about the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. Now, I recently uploaded a short 5-minute clip about this on YouTube, and you can go watch the video. Just type in Brad Pistole, Safe Money Radio, and you can subscribe to the show while you're on there, and you can always watch our podcast there. You don't have to be listening on the radio every Saturday and Sunday when our 5 different shows air. It's online all the time, anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. And here's the thing. The experts all agree that there are several different key retirement risks that we are all going to face in retirement. Tom Hegna talks about these risks all the time. Dr. David Blanchett, Dr. Michael Finca, Dr. Wade Pfau, Ed Slott, Heather Schreiber, Alex Margia, they all agree that there are inevitable risks that you're going to face in the future. And they talk about making sure you take those risks off the table to make sure that you're securing a financial future. But there is one thing that stands out more than any other. What is that one thing? Well, here's some choices, some options. Is it the sequence of returns risk? We talk about how important that is on the show all the time. No, it's not. It's important, but that's not it. Is it the volatility of the stock market? Well, that's important, but no, that's not either. Well, maybe it's long-term care risk and health expenses. You know, that's a big, big deal. It's estimated that current married couples will spend more than $250,000 during their retirement years on medical expenses. That's because of hospital visits, surgeries, prescription drug costs, accidents, long-term care expenses, and many other things. So this is a big deal, but this still isn't the number one risk. What is the number one risk? Well, maybe it's outliving your money. We all know that that's an important one. I talk about this all the time. I recently realized that we have 5 clients over the age of 95. We have 10 in their 90s, and we have 35 in their 80s. So longevity and outliving your money is a big deal. In fact, it's the number one fear of all retirees is outliving their money. But guess what? That's not the number one most important risk. America's IRA expert and CPA Ed Slott says, the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams is taxes. Don't believe me? Well, let me invite you to do this. Stay with me today. I'm going to show you several different reasons why I know this is true. I'm going to talk about real-life examples of people who learned this the hard way. And when you learn the facts, it's often too late. There is no way to reverse the ongoing taxes that will be due once certain mistakes are made. And we want to keep you from making these critical financial planning mistakes. So stay with us today. Now, I'm sure you're like most people. You're probably okay with paying your fair share of taxes. You see, we all want good roads and good schools and clean drinking water and all these things that our tax dollars supposedly provide to us. We all want a Social Security check, right? But if you boil it down to the facts, many times our tax dollars go to all kinds of things that never benefit us in any way. And that's a whole other story and a whole other show. But here's the bottom line. No one wants to pay taxes for something they don't have to pay for. No one wants to pay taxes for something that doesn't benefit them or their family. Yet we do this all the time. And many times it benefits the federal government and their families. And this is one of the things that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. So don't pay unnecessary taxes. Friends, here's the thing. If your money is saved in tax-deferred accounts like 401ks, IRAs, TSPs, 403bs, 401as, and things of this nature, that means you took a tax deduction up front when you made your contribution to that account. And you took that risk hoping you would be in a lower tax bracket in the future when you retired. Most non-financial experts will agree and tell you, yes, of course you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in the future because, duh, you won't be working and earning a paycheck. Notice I said non-financial experts. What they fail to realize is that this has been proven to be incorrect most of the time. And why is that? Because all of the crafty little formulas Congress has come up with to tax the distributions from all of your sources of retirement income. You see, you're going to have Social Security income. Your spouse is probably going to have Social Security income. One of you might be blessed to have a pension. Both of you probably have tax-deferred accounts like a 401k or an IRA, which means your distributions are 100% taxable, just like you were earning a paycheck as earned income. And so a lot of times in retirement, when you add in all these special formulas that no one talks to you about during your working years, except for retirement income certified professionals like us on this show, then you don't realize that you're going to have taxes pop up in retirement that you had absolutely no clue about. This involves things like IRMA, which stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amounts. You see, this is what determines your annual Medicare premiums. And guess what? If you pay too much of a premium for anything, this is a tax. A tax is anything that you pay that gives your money away when it should have been money in your own pocket. So let's say you're paying $500 a month for your health insurance premium, but your friend is only paying $175 a month. That means you paid a $325 a month tax that could have been avoided. Well, you might be thinking, well, how could this even happen? I can tell you exactly how. You see, what you do at age 63 affects your Medicare premium when you turn age 65. Did you know that? Has anyone ever talked to you about that? Your modified adjusted gross income, known as MAGI, in the year in which you turn 63 will determine your monthly Medicare premiums when you turn 65 and start Medicare. And guess what? Those premiums range from $175 a month up to as high as $559 a month. Guess what kind of things affect your MAGI? Earned income, Roth conversions, selling a property, interest earned from certain kinds of investments, selling stocks, and the list goes on and on. You see, the choices that you make at age 63 will affect your taxes and premiums at age 65. And guess what? This is never going to stop for the rest of your retired life. What you do at age 64 will affect your Medicare premiums at age 66. What you do at age 65 determines your Medicare premiums at age 67. Do I have your attention yet? Boy, I hope so, because this is only the beginning of the tricky taxes you will face in the future. So stay with us. Our number is 866-780-7233. We're going to be talking about the number one thing that separates you from the retirement of your dreams, and I can assure you it's taxes. Call in at any time and ask for a free copy of my book that talks about all of this. It talks about how to remove the tax tumors from your retirement income plan. The book is called Bulletproof, the Safe and Secure Retirement Income Plan, and America's IRA expert Ed Slott wrote the foreword to this book. I'll give you a copy absolutely free when we meet together or you come by my office to pick it up. Now, let me clarify one thing since this show airs all across the world. I don't pay to ship free books to California and Alaska and Florida. I would go out of business if I took the cost to write a book, print the book, mail out the book. That's not possible. If you live locally and you want to come by and pick up a book, fantastic. We'll give it to you absolutely free. If you want a free financial consultation, great. We'll give it to you absolutely free. If you live halfway across the world and you want to read a copy of the book, it's very simple. I will email you an e-version of the book. Or you can go to Amazon, type in Brad Pistole, Bulletproof, the Safe and Secure Retirement Income Plan, and you can just buy it on Amazon. The information will change your financial future. Our number is 866-780-7233, and there's someone standing by right now to take your call. Now, friends, on today's show, we've been talking about the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. It's not market volatility. It's not outliving your money. It's not medical expenses. It's not the sequence of returns risks. It's none of those things. It's not failing to own Bitcoin and gold and silver. I get this call from listeners every single week. Well, if you don't own Bitcoin and gold and silver or precious metals, you're going to be exposed. Friends, that's not it at all. It's not going to be the thing that separates you from the retirement of your dreams. The thing that's going to separate you from the retirement of your dreams is not being prepared and paying unnecessary taxes. And if you want proof, just let me walk you through a scenario today. This is going to blow your mind. I like using $1 million as an example. Hey, everyone wants to be a millionaire, right? I was a guest on Tom Hegna's show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, in New York in early 2024. This episode about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and this interview is going to air on Fox Business on Saturday, May the 4th at 5 p.m., 2024. So you can either watch this online on YouTube, it's already up, or you can tune into Fox Business on May 4th at 5 p.m. on Fox Business, and you can watch the interview with me and Tom where we talk about just how easy it is to become a millionaire in the United States today. You see, I really enjoy teaching people what it means to be truly financially free. Now, what do I mean by truly financially free? Well, let's look at an example of this. There are a lot of people who claim to be millionaires, but guess what? They're not. And here's the worst part. They don't even know why they're not. Do you know what the difference is between a true millionaire and a millionaire on paper? Here's the difference. It's when someone says, Brad, I'm a 401k millionaire. My response is this. Well, that's a great accomplishment, but you're not a millionaire, my friend. They will normally frown and say something like this. What do you mean I'm not a millionaire? I've got $1 million in my 401k. Okay, great. I can prove this to you. Let's play a little game. If you want to find out whether or not your wealth is true wealth, just go empty the account where your money is located and put it in your bank account. And then here's what I want you to do. Wait until next April the 15th. Now, why would I tell them this? Well, listen closely. If you have $1 million in your 401k, just close the account and move the money over into your bank account. And then guess what's going to happen? The first thing that's going to happen is something called the mandatory 20% withholding rule. You see, that's right. If you've never taken a distribution from an active 401k, there is a 20% federal mandatory withholding. So if you want to take out your $1 million that you think is 100% yours and you go put it in your bank, they're only going to send you $800,000. They're going to send the other 20%, which is $200,000 of that money that you thought was yours, to the federal government. And that's not the end of the story. It gets much, much worse. Make sure you don't spend too much of that $800,000 that you put in the bank thinking was yours, because you're nowhere near done paying taxes on that distribution yet. When you get to April the 15th of the following year, guess what's going to happen? Uncle Sam's going to be sitting right there with his hand out, and he's going to say, hey, remember me? You remember when you closed that $1 million 401k last year and put $800,000 in your bank thinking it was all yours? Well, you only sent me 20% to cover the taxes, but you didn't cover all the taxes that were due. When you took that taxable distribution, that puts you into the highest tax bracket for 2024, which is 37%. So you need to cough up another $170,000 because 17% more belongs to me. You see, that's right, friends. If you liquidate your $1 million 401k in 2024, 37% of it is going straight to Uncle Sam. That's $370,000 of what you thought was your $1 million. You still think you're a millionaire? Well, hang on. The game's not over yet. Let's keep playing because this is fun. Let's not forget that those of you living in 42 out of 50 states will also owe state taxes on the distributions that you took from that 401k or tax-deferred account. So for the majority of you, in addition to the $370,000 in federal taxes you're going to pay, you will also pay approximately 6% more in state taxes. Now, who's good at math? What's 6% of $1 million? If you said 60,000, you're correct. And what's 370,000 plus 60,000? That's 430,000 in taxes that will be due from a $1 million distribution from a 401k. Do you still feel like you're a millionaire? Well, remember earlier when I said it gets worse and much worse? Well, you see, in most cases, You're still not done paying taxes yet, so listen closely. Several additional taxes might be due depending on the age you were when you took the distributions from that $1 million 401k. Here's some examples. What if you needed the money that you thought belonged to you before you reached age 59 and a half? You see, if you take distributions before age 59 and a half from a tax-deferred account, there will be a 10% federal penalty assessed to the distribution on top of the federal and state taxes. That would take your total tax percentage up to 55% of your $1 million. Friends, that's $550,000. And what if you take that distribution, like most people do, after you turn age 65 and you've started your Medicare and your Social Security payments? Do you really want to hear what I'm about to tell you? Well, let's start with Medicare. If you started Medicare and you take $1 million from a 401k and put it in your bank because you think that's real money that belongs to you, you might want to buckle your seatbelt. This distribution is going to increase your income-related monthly adjustment amount known as IRMA. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that 2 years after you take this distribution, your premiums for Medicare will jump from $174 a month to $575 a month. That's right. And if you don't believe me, just go look it up online. In addition to this, if you've already started your Social Security income, the fact that you took $1 million from a tax-deferred account means that's all earned income. And now there's a special formula for determining the amount of tax you're now going to owe on your Social Security distributions. Those of you who are on Social Security know all about these additional taxes when you exceed certain limits of taxable income. And those of you who don't know yet are painfully going to learn this one day down the road. If you don't believe me, just go to YouTube and type in taxation on Social Security benefits. Now, friends, I know this is a lot of information to digest, but one thing is for sure about this show. We are retirement income certified professionals, and we focus on how to get the money back out of your retirement accounts in the most tax-efficient way. Most financial planners never talk to you about decumulation and how to get the money back out. They're focused on your rate of return. And I've been saying this on Safe Money Radio for 15 years now. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep after taxes that counts. What do I mean by that? Well, it's not how much you make in your account. So what if you make 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 15% in your account? That's not what matters. It's how much you get to keep. You might have to give half of that or more of that back to Uncle Sam. So let's take a quick look at one more example before we change the topic here for a minute. Let's say I have $1 million in my Roth IRA or in my Roth 401k. Am I a true millionaire? Absolutely I am. I'm a true millionaire. You see, after age 59 and a half, when my money is in a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, I can pull that money out at any time I want to, for any reason I want to, and move it anywhere I want to move it to, and I won't owe one single penny in federal or state taxes. This distribution won't affect my Medicare premiums, and it won't affect the taxation of my Social Security distributions. Now, which one of the two situations we've talked about today sounds the best to you? I think most of you would agree with me that 100% tax-free sounds like a whole lot better than paying up to $500,000 in taxes. But guess what? A lot of people who claim to be experts, including CPAs, disagree. They will tell you, take the tax deduction now. How do I know this? Because every single year, my phone rings off the hook between March 15th and April 15th with people who say something like this. Hey, Brad, my CPA says I need to contribute to an IRA to save on taxes. Can you open an IRA for me? This happens every single year. And guess what? They're not saving any tax. They're postponing it into the future. And this is almost always my response. Well, sure, I can do that for you, but let me ask you something. Do you want to save a little bit of tax right now and owe tax on 100% of that contribution in the future, plus all the growth? Or would you rather pay a little bit of tax right now and have 100% tax-free distributions on down the road, no matter what tax rates increase to? You see, friends, here's the deal with Uncle Sam and taxes. You either pay him now or you pay him later. That's Uncle Sam's plan. You pay him the tax up front or you're going to pay him the tax on down the road. And if you don't pay it, your heirs are going to pay it. So here's the key to all this. Uncle Sam is the one who's in control of how much you're going to pay. And right now in 2024, your taxes are on sale. The Trump tax cuts are going to last through 2025, and then it's game over. And depending on who's in office after 2024, future tax rates could go through the roof. We simply cannot ignore these facts. We're $34 trillion in debt, and this is growing every single second. Friends, this debt grows by billions of dollars every single day. In fact, our national debt is increasing by $1 trillion every 100 days in 2024. Just let that sink in for a minute. Do you think your tax rates are going to be lower in the future? I can assure you they will not be. This is why you need to be working with a retirement income certified professional who focuses on how much money you get to keep in the future. Someone who focuses on true wealth, which means you get to keep 100% of the money inside your retirement accounts. The majority of people who come to meet with us at our office have tax-deferred accounts. And we're glad to help them with their tax-deferred money because we're specialists in preservation and distributions and helping get rid of the taxes inside these accounts. Both my son and I are retirement income certified professionals, and we are forward-thinking planners. We want to help keep your money safe. We want to help it grow. We want to teach you how to have guaranteed lifetime income that you can never outlive, and we want you to have as much tax-free income as possible. We will show you how to move from the forever taxed to the never taxed bucket. So call us anytime. Request our free Safe Money Kit or a copy of my best-selling book, Bulletproof, The Safe and Secure Retirement Income Plan. And request a free financial consultation. Our number is 866-780-7233, and there's someone standing by right now to take your call. Friends, on today's show, we've been talking about the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. And we've talked about all the different options that are there that could be this number one thing. It could be stock market risk. It could be the order of returns, or what they call sequence of returns risk. It could be inflation. Well, that's been a big deal here the last couple of years. It could be longevity risk. More and more people are living to be age 95 and 100. Hey, it could be long-term care risk. The average married couple is going to spend $250,000 in medical expenses during their lifetime. And for a lot of people, that's more than they have saved in their retirement accounts. So these are all really, really important, but it's not the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. My good friend Tom Hegna says this: the success of your retirement is not about your assets. Your assets can be lost. They can be stolen. They can be swindled. They can be sued. They can be divorced. They can be decimated in a market crash. The ultimate success of every single retirement plan is going to depend on the answer to these two questions. Do you want to know what those two questions are? Well, you're going to have to stay with us to the end of the show. I'm going to share it with you at the end, and here's what I want to do right now. I want to transition into something I've only talked about once on this show, but it is absolutely a part of the number one risk that you're going to face in retirement. So here's the thing. I'm a huge basketball fan. I played in high school. Everyone loves to talk about how good they were in high school, right? And out of high school, I was offered 2 basketball scholarships, one to York, Nebraska, and one to a school in Northeast Arkansas. But I realized I'm 5'10" and 150 pounds. And a lot of the guards that I played against, even though I was a very decorated basketball player, they were 6'2" and 6'3" and 6'4". So I made a wise decision, and I chose to play college golf instead. It was a lot easier on my body, and I was able to play basketball for fun. But I've never stopped watching basketball. I love it. In fact, my grandfather Opal Pistole was a very famous basketball coach in the state of Arkansas. The Opal Pistole Memorial Tournament has been taking place for 40 years now. And this reminds me of something. Back in 1995, every single year, I watched the NCAA tournament. I can't wait for March Madness. And in 1995, a team named Gonzaga made it to the NCAA tournament for the very first time. And I'll never forget what my father said. He said, "Gonzaga? Who in the world is Gonzaga? Good luck to anyone who picks them to be a winner." And we were filling out our brackets, and sometimes you pick a dark horse, and Dad was like, "You better not pick Gonzaga. No one knows who they are." Well, guess what? That's true. 1995, no one knew who Gonzaga was. But today, in 2024, everyone who follows college basketball knows exactly who they are. Just listen to these facts. This is not an opinion. They have made it to the NCAA tournament 25 years in a row now. They've made it to the Final Four. They've made it to the championship game. And they've made it to the Sweet 16 every single year since 2015. Only one other team in college basketball has made it to the Sweet 16 more than Gonzaga. They are definitely a horse that you want to bet on, and that reminds me a lot of what we're talking about today. Today, there are so many people who would have said 20 years ago, "Oh, retirement income planning, well, you don't need to use a special kind of product for that. All you have to do is stick your money in the market, and with a average rate of return and a 4% withdrawal rule, you can live on your income for the next 30 years, and you'll never run out of money." And if you tried to mention anything like an annuity or something that's contractually guaranteed, like specialized types of life insurance that you can take tax-free withdrawals from, they would have laughed at you and said, "You're a fool. No one knows what those things are. No one uses those. All the experts say blah, blah, blah." They said the same things about Gonzaga in 1995. No one knows who they are. Why would you bet on that? But you know what? Now it's 2024. And in 2023, over $400 billion went into fixed indexed annuities with income riders. Why? Because now everybody knows what an annuity is with an income rider. For the most part, unless you've had your head in the sand, or unless you've talked to one of the financial professionals, quote, quote, who say, "You should never buy an annuity. They're trash, they're junk, they're crap." I've heard it all. Why do they say that? Well, they've got a reason and a motivation for telling you that. And if you don't know the answer, just call me and I'll tell you exactly why. Don't ever forget, my father was 52 years in this industry, and in the beginning years of his financial career, he worked for Blue Cross and Blue Shield and Merrill Lynch. He had every designation and license under the sun, and he had all of his money invested in the markets. And he was a big proponent of never buy an annuity. And then 2001 happened when he was 56 years old. And then 2008 happened when he was 63 years old. And you know what happened? If you listen to the early part of the show when we talked about how taxes can decimate a 401k and turn $1 million account into a $450,000 account, the same thing can happen because of the stock market. My dad was a 401k millionaire, and after 01 and 08, because he did what we talked about, he was forced to take some distributions during a downward market while paying a fee, while paying taxes. He ended up with $350,000 in his 401k after the crashes of 01 and 08. He was completely exposed. And now the problem is he went from age 56 to age 63, was ready to retire, and his nest egg had dropped from $1 million to $350,000. He had an immediate problem. But we solved that problem. He purchased 3 annuities that generated guaranteed lifetime income. He lowered his risk substantially, pulled a lot of money out of the volatile investments, and secured his lifetime income. And now that my father has passed away, that money has passed on to my mother as joint guaranteed lifetime income. Now, you might be thinking, well, what in the world does this have to do with the number one risk that every retiree will face? Well, here the number one risk is. It's taxes. And during that process, when we were working through those things with Dad, moving him from risk to safety and getting him guarantees, we also did something called Roth conversions, and we paid the taxes on those accounts, and now my mother lives with 100% tax-free true wealth distributions. You see, back in 1995, no one knew who Gonzaga was. But guess what? Gonzaga's a thing now. Go anywhere, you'll see Gonzaga jerseys and people talking about them, and their fan base is huge. Guess what also is a thing now? Annuities. They're a thing. Guess what also is a thing? People who understand that it's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. People want guaranteed, contractual, lifetime, tax-free income. Friends, if you want to learn more about this, we are retirement income certified professionals who can teach you exactly how to do this in your portfolio. Call us anytime at 866-780-SAFE. That's 866-780-7233. Friends, on today's show, we've been talking about the number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams. And I've got a question for you. Do you have any idea what's going on with Jeeps and all the ducks these days? You see, I didn't. I purchased a Jeep in 2024, and since the time I was 16 years old, I've always driven a truck. Always. Brad Pistole will always be in a truck. But for the first time ever, I bought a Jeep truck. It does have a truck bed on it. Got to have a truck bed. But here's the thing. I had no clue. Like, Jeeps and ducks weren't on my radar, except that I did notice from time to time while driving around town that people in Jeeps would have these little ducks all across their front windshield. Well, about 3 days after I purchased my Jeep truck, I pulled into the office and I noticed someone walking across the parking lot. And in today's world, that can make you nervous. Someone's walking up to you. I had my window rolled up, and this gentleman pointed for me to roll my window down, and I thought, I'm not too sure about this. What's this guy want? And I rolled my window down, and he handed me a little yellow duck with a green army beret on it. And he said, "I love your Jeep. I hope you have a great day." Man, that made me feel so good, but I had no idea what had just happened. So I put the duck on my dashboard, and then I realized, hey, maybe that's how all these ducks end up on all these Jeep dashboards. So I went into the office, asked Lisa and Hunter about it, went to YouTube, typed it in, and I found out that there's actually a thing regarding ducks and Jeeps. It's actually called What the Duck. It's called Getting Ducked. So if you will, I want to give credit to the local 12 News in Cincinnati. Listen to this quick clip about Jeeps and ducking.
Jeep owners are bringing smiles to each other's faces, and it comes in the form of a child's bath toy.
Yeah, this trend is now nearly 3 years old, but tonight our Brad Underwood shares the inside joke among all those Jeep owners out there with all of us outsiders.
You've surely seen them on the road or in a parking lot. Rubber ducks peeking through Jeep windshields.
So it took me a while to get my first duck. It took me 2 Jeeps to get my first duck. It's my second Jeep. My first duck was the blue one.
Rob Ward now has a few more hanging out on his dashboard.
Arnold, Frankie, Cedric, Henry, and Clarence.
If you have one, it means you've been ducked. Yeah, it's a thing. In fact, it's a Jeep thing. Or Jeepers, as they like to be called. If you get one, the kind gesture means someone likes your Jeep or just wants to put a smile on your face. Ward loves to get ducked.
I walk in that house, I kick the door down, I say, "Babe, we got a duck!" And then phase one's complete.
The Jeep ducking phenomenon began in June of 2020 in Canada. Allison Parliament was heading back home and had a violent encounter with a man after crossing the border.
I was told to go back to my own country. I'm Canadian born, and they did not realize that. So I have Alabama plates.
After being physically assaulted, Parliament stayed home for a while.
I was terrified to take the Jeep out because of the plates.
Eventually, she left home, and while out shopping, she saw a bag of rubber ducks and bought them. After seeing this Jeep outside the store, she wrote, "Nice Jeep" on the duck and placed it on the vehicle.
We left the duck, and I got caught doing it. And the gentleman that caught me thought it was hysterical and a great idea, and he was super kind.
And from there, ducking took flight.
We've got 500,000 plus people playing in 81 countries. We just had Havana, Cuba join the page. And we've got Cairo, Egypt. We've got people in Greece. We've got people all over the world playing. And it's insane. Some of our American military friends are ducking in Kosovo right now.
In Cleves, it's not just Jeeps getting ducked.
They like to duck my bar.
Jackie's Bar is a Jeep bar, and it's full of ducks.
They're positive little messages, and they put the messages all over my bar down here.
In ducking Cincinnati, Brad Underwood, Local 12 News.
You got to say that very slowly.
I'm not going to even try to repeat it, but who would have thought, huh?
Right. To check out the full list of Duck Jeep events, head to local12.com. Jeep owners are a very particular bunch.
Yeah.
Love them, but they have a lot of pride in their Jeeps. And this game makes sense to me.
It made me smile, I will say that.
Well, there you go, friends. Now you know. It's actually a thing. You've been ducked. It started in Canada during COVID, and now there are over 500,000 people in 81 countries participating and sharing the joy about, hey, I think you've got a cool Jeep, and here's a duck for you. Who would have ever thought that ducking was a thing? But guess what? It is a thing. You see, it was never on my radar until I bought a Jeep. Now I know exactly what it is, and I can't wait till someone else walks up and hands me a duck. This is the same thing for a lot of people when it comes to annuities. It's the same thing when it comes to tax planning for their 401k or their IRA or their financial future. People just didn't know that annuities were a thing, even though hundreds of billions of dollars go into annuities every single day to secure guaranteed lifetime income. And a lot of times they are paying the taxes on those accounts to turn that account into a Roth. People don't realize, yes, your annuity can be an IRA, it can be a Roth IRA that you hold inside the annuity. And here's the thing, when it's a Roth, you've paid the taxes. You've gotten rid of the number one issue that faces all retirees. The number one thing that will separate you from the retirement of your dreams is taxes. So friends, that's what we focus on here. Things that people don't realize are a thing that are actually a thing. Now, we're not talking about basketball in Gonzaga or getting a duck on your Jeep. We're talking about securing guaranteed lifetime income and doing that with tax-free accounts so that you experience true wealth, money that's 100% yours, that you don't have to report any of it to the feds, to the state. It won't affect your Medicare premiums. It won't affect your Social Security taxation. And that's exactly what we do here. We are retirement income certified professionals, and we focus on what's called decumulation, taking the money back out of your retirement accounts in the most tax-efficient way. If you want to know more information, if you want a free consultation, or if you want to read my best-selling book that talks about this, Bulletproof, the Safe and Secure Retirement Income Plan, just call us anytime at 866-780-7233. There's always someone standing by to take your call. Friends, as we wrap up the show today, we've got one more quick segment. And I told you at the beginning of this segment that we were going to tell you what world-renowned economist Tom Hegna says is the most important thing when it comes to your retirement planning. He says the ultimate success of every single retirement plan is going to depend on the answers to these two questions. How much guaranteed lifetime income do you have? And have you taken the key retirement risks off the table? What are these key risks? Well, it's stock market risk. It's order of returns and sequence of returns risk. It's inflation. It's longevity risk, outliving your money. It's long-term care, the expenses you're going to have in retirement because of hospitalization, an accident, a heart attack, a stroke, breaking a hip, being confined to a long-term care facility, home health care, all these different expenses. These things are very important, but the number one key retirement risk that you need to take off the table is taxes. If you don't believe me, friends, go to YouTube, type in Brad Pistole, Safe Money Radio, and listen to this podcast. If you missed the first part of the show, I give an example about a $1 million 401k and how that does not make an individual a millionaire. Far from it, because that's tax-deferred money. And when you start taking distributions from tax-deferred accounts, you don't keep all the money. In many cases, you keep less than 50% of the money. It depends on whether or not you're above the age of 59 and a half, whether or not you're already on Medicare, because it can affect your Medicare premiums, whether or not you've started Social Security, because those distributions can affect your Social Security taxation. There are all these factors that are so very important when it comes to your retirement planning. And that's why the average financial professional, when you ask them a question like this, if it regards taxes, I know what they say. See if you've ever heard this when you talk to your financial planner. We don't do taxes. We don't answer questions about taxes. You need to go talk to your CPA about that. That's because they're just someone who hangs their hat on how much of a rate of return they can get you. And that's not even how much money they can make you, because remember, you don't get to keep all of that. Don't ever forget what Tom Hegna says. The success of your retirement is not about your assets. Your assets can be lost. They can be stolen. They can be swindled. They can be sued. They can be divorced. They can be decimated in a market crash. Here's what's going to matter. How much guaranteed lifetime income do you have? That's annuities, pensions, and Social Security. And have you taken the key retirement risks off the table? The number one risk is paying unnecessary taxes that you aren't even aware are coming on down the road. Friends, make sure you are talking to and working with a retirement income certified professional who understands all aspects of financial planning. Both my son and I are retirement income certified professionals through the American College of Financial Services. I'm also a certified financial fiduciary. I am a certified annuity specialist, and I was one of the 2022 Springfield Business Journal Trusted Advisors of the Year. If you want expert retirement planning advice, you're listening to the right show. Call us anytime at 866-780-SAFE. That's 866-780-7233. Call us for a free financial consultation or ask for a copy of my Safe Money Kit and my best-selling book, Bulletproof, The Safe and Secure Retirement Income Plan. We will get you on the road to retirement security, and we will make sure you've taken the number one risk to retirement planning off the table. Our number is 866-780-7233. Well, I'm about out of time, and I would like to thank you for listening to Safe Money Radio. If you're serious about your financial future, give me a call, and together we'll get your retirement savings on the fast track to accumulation while reducing exposure to market losses. Thanks for listening, and until next time at the same time, I'm Brad Pistole, reminding you to stay safe so you can step into a secure future.
Safe Money Radio, your money safe and sound.
You've been listening to Safe Money Radio with your host, Brad Pistole. Find out how to contractually guarantee that your hard-earned money is safe while avoiding market loss so you can have the retirement that you deserve. Call Brad Pistole now for your complimentary Safe Money book and Safe Money information kit at 866-780-SAFE. That's 866-780-7233.
Safe Money Radio, your money safe and sound.
The preceding information does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. Surrender charges apply to base contracts. Optional lifetime income benefit riders are used to calculate lifetime payments only and are not available for cash surrender or in a death benefit unless specified in the annuity contract. Fees may apply. Guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the insurance company. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. Obviously, by calling us now, you are just taking the first step towards protecting your retirement. It's important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Rates and returns mentioned on this program are subject to change without notice.